When you think of a truly beloved movie star, who's the first person that pops into your head? For so many of us, the answer is just Tom Hanks. He's way more than just an actor, right? He's a cultural institution, a guy whose entire career feels like it's built on a foundation of decency and integrity. So let's explore how he became, without a doubt, Hollywood's most trusted man.
I mean, just think about that nickname, America's Dad. It really says it all, doesn't it? That's not a title you get from one movie. It's something that's been woven into our culture, bit by bit, over decades. He's become this incredibly familiar, comforting presence in our lives, the kind of person you feel like you actually know.
So, that's the big question we're tackling today. How did one single actor build such an unshakable, powerful bond with the public? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning, to a childhood that was, surprisingly, anything but stable.
Yeah, long before he was a Hollywood heavyweight, Tom Hanks was kind of a nomadic observer. See, his early life wasn't about putting down roots. It was about constant change, a lifestyle that, weirdly enough, turned out to be the absolute perfect training for becoming an incredible actor.
Get this, by the time he was just 10 years old, Tom Hanks had already lived in 10 different houses. 10! After his parents divorced, he was always on the move with his dad, who was an itinerant cook. That meant a never-ending cycle of new towns, new schools, and a whole new set of faces to try and figure out. All that moving around basically forced him to become a professional people watcher. He had to learn how to fit in fast, to read a room, to understand how people ticked just to get by. And that very skill, that superpower of adaptability, would become the secret sauce for his entire acting career.
And that talent for winning people over? Well, it translated perfectly to the big screen. When he first burst onto the scene in Hollywood, it wasn't as some serious dramatic actor. No, he was this incredibly charming, hilarious leading man that audiences just fell in love with instantly.
His climb through the 80s was just lightning fast. I mean, he started in the super campy sitcom Boz & Buddies, then bam, he's a genuine movie star in Splash. America had found its new favorite funny guy. But then came Big, and that role showed us something much, much deeper was going on.
This was the real turning point. Playing a kid trapped in an adult's body in Big, Hanks wasn't just being funny anymore. He was vulnerable, he was innocent, and he was so incredibly touching. It was the first time we all got a real glimpse of the profound empathy that would define his greatest work.
Okay, so if the 80s made him a star, the 90s are what made him a legend. This was the decade where he made a conscious choice to shed that funny man persona and attempt one of the most incredible creative pivots in movie history.
And you can really see the shift here. It was so deliberate. He went from being this charming, lighthearted comedian to an actor who was ready to tackle the most difficult, emotionally heavy roles you could imagine. For a guy at the peak of his comedic fame, it was a massive, massive gamble. And it all kicked off with Philadelphia. You have to remember, at the height of the AIDS crisis, this was a huge career risk. But his performance, it was so harrowing and so deeply human. It didn't just win him his first Oscar, it actually helped change the national conversation, pushing it towards empathy. And then, as if that wasn't enough, just 1 year later, he does it again. He gives us Forrest Gump. He took a character that could have so easily been a joke and turned him into this beloved American icon, a symbol of innocence and decency walking through history. So just let that sink in for a second. 2 years, two of the most iconic roles of all time, and 2 back-to-back Best Actor Oscars. At the time, only one other actor in history, Spencer Tracy, had ever pulled that off. This put him in a completely different stratosphere. He was at the absolute top of his game.
So now he has all the clout in the world, and what does he do with it? He starts to use his influence to tell stories he's deeply passionate about, especially American history. And that led to his incredible partnership with director Steven Spielberg.
In Saving Private Ryan, his Captain Miller gave us a whole new kind of hero. He wasn't some stoic, fearless warrior. He was an English teacher with hands that trembled, leading his men through absolute hell. He showed us that real courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting in spite of that fear. And his career just kept evolving in these really powerful ways. He literally became the voice of a generation's childhood as Sheriff Woody in Toy Story. Then he pretty much became the master of the biopic, perfectly capturing the quiet dignity of real-life heroes like Sully Sullenberger, Captain Phillips, and of course, Mr. Rogers.
So what is it that makes all these performances so believable? I think it's the feeling we get that the decency we see on screen, it isn't just an act.
We feel like it's a true reflection of the man himself.
And his life off-screen really seems to back that up. I mean, his quirky hobby of collecting vintage typewriters, that just screams thoughtful old soul personality, doesn't it? He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. And think back to the start of the pandemic, when he and his wife got COVID-19. Their calm and transparent updates helped the whole world understand just how serious things were.
And at the heart of it all is this incredible stability, especially his marriage to Rita Wilson. In Hollywood, a successful marriage since 1988 is like an eternity. It all just adds to this image we have of him as a truly solid, reliable person.
So it all boils down to this. Tom Hanks has perfected the everyman hero. He doesn't play superheroes. He plays ordinary people. Regular folks who are thrown into these incredible circumstances and who manage to succeed not with superpowers, but with basic human integrity, with empathy, and with just plain grit.
Which leaves us with one final thought. In our cinematic universe, which is so full of capes and aliens and superpowers, why does the quiet heroism of the common person, perfected by Tom Hanks, still connect with us so deeply? Well, maybe it's because he reminds us that the best heroes don't actually need capes. They just need the courage to be decent in a world that isn't always.